Merab versus Sean. I'm going to give you three main reasons why I think Merab beats Sean in this rematch and successfully defends his belt. Let's look at the breakdown of this fight in three main areas: technical, tactical, and mindset. So we'll start with technical. Now, it's no secret, Merab's the grappler, Sean is the striker. And at first glance, you might say, well, is Sean a better striker than Merab is a grappler? But it's really not that simple. We have to go one more layer deeper and say, well, is Merab better at striking or more effective at striking than Sean is at grappling, or vice versa? Now, here's my argument for Merab. We know he's a grappler, and he knows that he has to get past the strikes to close distance and get his hands on his opponent so he can take them down into his world, which is wrestling. And because MMA rounds always start at a distance on their feet, Merab has had no choice but to get past that distance of striking and close. So he's always had to figure out how to get off the center line by either creating an angle or by level changing in order to close distance, get his hands on his opponent, and take them down. Now, Sean, on the other hand, knows that the fight starts at distance on the feet, so his game is to simply try to prevent it from going to the ground, but he's never been forced to address that because the fight doesn't start on the ground. Like, if this was some sort of odd wrestling or jiu-jitsu match where both fighters started on their knees on the ground, then Sean would have been forced to figure out how to get from the ground back up to standing. But notice in their last match, when Sean was in bottom position, he was more or less satisfied to stay in neutral. He didn't try to get to a submission. He didn't try to get back on his feet, which is a little bit surprising. Now, maybe that's because he says he had a torn labrum, but I find that a little odd because if he did have a torn labrum, at some point he was trying to put Merab in a guard position that was almost like rubber guard. It wasn't rubber guard, but that puts an incredible amount of torque on your hips. So I'm not going to say Sean didn't have injured hip, but if that's the case, his choice of positions in bottom position were somewhat odd. Whether a fighter is primarily a grappler or a striker, it's imperative that if you're in bottom position, you do not accept the position, as many coaches say. They're like, you've got to get back up, get out of there, get on your feet. And I have not seen that skill set evident in Sean O'Malley. Now, the second thing is with Sean, let's take a look at Sean's strength, which in the striking aspect, he loves that straight right hand. He's knocked plenty of people out with that single punch. However, there's one flaw with how he throws that, especially against a guy like Merab. Sean will throw that jab, straight right hand, but he does not come back with either a left hook or a left kick. And if he overextends on a right hand, you're vulnerable. He's especially vulnerable to somebody like Merab, who wants to get to the grappling game. Because if Merab can time that right hand, he can level change underneath it, he can bob and creates a slight angle, but either way, he now has an opening for a single leg or even a double leg takedown, which is what Merab wants. So I've seen Sean practice on mitts. He throws that 1-2, but he does not come back. I blame his coach for not bringing that out of him. Now, finally, in terms of technical aspects, Merab has figured out a way to transition from the striking to where he wants to be, which is the grappling. And one of his key weapons there is his overhand right to a single leg takedown on his opponent's left leg. It's a terrific combination. And I believe Merab came up with that simply by putting in the rounds over and over. I'm pretty sure he figured that move out for himself in sparring practice, and then once he was able to execute that in fights, it really crystallized for him. Now, by contrast, as I already alluded to, Sean has difficulty getting from the ground back up to striking, which is where he wants it. And again, that's a skill set that needs to be practiced over and over in tough situations in the gym in order to be able to execute it in the cage. So what that would mean is Sean should put himself in bottom position, have an opponent do their darndest to not let him try to get back up, and Sean just has to keep trying over and over repeatedly, even when he's tired, to just post on his opponent's head or shoulder and just get himself back up to all fours and then to standing on 2 feet. But that skill set appears to be missing in Sean's repertoire thus far. Okay, now let's take a look at this next big area, which is tactical. So again, this is a contrast in styles. Merab game is to he weaponizes energy, right? He just continually and doesn't care if he fails at his takedown. He's relentless with it. He keeps coming back for more. Sean O'Malley, on the other hand, is looking for that one punch perfect KO or one kick perfect KO. Very different mindsets. So I believe that Merab, because he's weaponized his use of energy, he can wear out his opponent. And that leads us to the third big point, which is mindset. Now, this brings us to our third and final big area, which is mindset. And again, in this department, I feel Merab has the advantage. First of all, he's already beaten Sean once, so he knows he can do it. Second thing is he knows how he did it the last time, which was, again, by using his engine capacity and simply wearing Sean out such that Sean's then broke mentally. You could see that happen in about the third round in that fight. Just look at the affect on Sean O'Malley's face. He really wasn't engaged in the fight. He wasn't looking to beat the crap out of Merab anymore. He was simply satisfied to, I think, do enough to show that he was still. Finally, I believe Sean O'Malley is in deep denial, and that's the main reason why Merab will win. Sean, if you remember back to his first fight with Cheeto, declared himself undefeated even though Cheeto won. He said Cheeto got lucky. If he hadn't gotten injured, Cheeto wouldn't have won, etc., etc. Well, that's exactly why you have a coach to check you on your BS, to tell you things you don't want to hear, and to make you do things you don't want to do. And that's exactly what Tim isn't. He's not a coach. He's a buddy. He's a bro. He's Sean's friend. But he's not getting Sean to do the things that he needs to do in order to win this fight. And that, bottom line, is why Sean O'Malley will not defeat Merab in the rematch. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments.